this page isn't overwhelming people with CTAs, which drives me nuts when I land on a page with 8, 9, 10 calls to action. You don't need that many. In fact, you hurt your conversion because you're causing people to spend way too much time trying to figure out what they're supposed to do. But if you just make it easy, price, payment, trade, that sort of stuff, you'll have good conversion.
Let me ask you a question. Did you come here to listen to money or make it? This is L.A. Williams, the blind master. And Sean V. Bradley and I came here for one reason and one reason only. And that's to fill your pockets with money. Now how are we gonna do it? By giving you the secrets, techniques, and strategies for you to stop losing and start winning at this game called Automotive Professional Sales.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy, bam, and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Community and the IS20G Conference. And man, I got a really awesome friend and a subject matter expert, Mr. Gino Cipriani. He's the Chief Revenue Officer of Dealer eProcess. Dealer eProcess is the leading dealership website platform and digital marketing and SEO ninjas out there. So Gino, welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcasting group, brother. How you been?
I'm great, Sean. Excuse me. Now I'm great. Now I cleared my throat. I'm good to go. It's been a hell of a year so far, and I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. So I appreciate you having me on.
Did you just invoke old school hip hop? Did you just say, "Let me clear my throat"?
I think maybe I did. Maybe it was subconscious, but I think I did.
Yeah. Well, listen, NADA is right around the corner. You know, this might be airing right after NADA or what have you. But again, if this airs before NADA and it's at least live streaming right now, can you tell everybody really quick that what's your status at NADA, where you guys at, and what can they look forward to at NADA this year?
So we are at the front row of the West Hall booth 4301W. If you walk in at the entrances, you just kind of look down that front row, you'll see us. I myself am speaking twice. I have 2 sessions where I'm speaking with one of NADA's trainers, Larry or Clay. We're going to be talking about some fixed ops marketing and website personalization and things like that. So first session is Thursday at 11:30. Second session is Sunday at 10:30. So I'm doing the bookends. And so we've got a ton of stuff that we're launching. This is actually, I haven't been this excited about an NADA in a while because we're launching at least 6 never before seen website features at NADA. Nobody is doing what we're doing. And it's pretty crazy because this is stuff that we're launching that should have been around for a while. And I mean, like, we sat back when we started thinking about doing what we're going to do, and I can walk everybody through this. It dawned on us that, like, websites have been in the automotive industry, like we were just talking about, for 25, 30 years, right? And in those 25, 30 years, not much has really changed. They've always just been a place for people to go and look at your inventory. It's been pretty static. There's been different tools and redesigns and things like that. But fundamentally, the site has just been a static, almost like a brochure sitting there that people could go to and check out. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's not what shoppers are looking for in an online retailing experience in 2024. And that's what all of this new tech is designed to solve for. So that's what's really exciting us right now.
So then as we get to this interview a little bit deeper, hopefully we'll be able to tease us with some of those things as we go into it. But I want to just first acknowledge, man, you know, it's a big deal to be an NADA convention speaker. This will be my 17th time as an NADA convention speaker myself. Tiana's going to be speaking. And what a lot of people don't realize is that in our industry, the NADA conference is our Super Bowl. There's nothing that comes close to NADA, and NADA doesn't give a flock who you are, how much money you have. If you're going to bless their stage, you have to go through the same process to submit a speaker application. It has to get vetted. It has to get voted on. And there are very few people that actually become an NADA convention speaker. So my question is this your first year, or have you spoken at NADA before?
Oh, this is my first year. I've spoken at Digital Dealer, obviously IS20G. I've spoken at a lot of the other conferences, but like you said, I've not been to the Super Bowl yet. So this is extra exciting for me.
Well, congratulations, man. I'm in the National Speakers Association. I am prejudiced of weak ass speakers. You know what I mean? Like I am bougie because I am at the highest levels of the world with the NSA and the $1 Million Speakers Group. And so I've had you on my stage. I knew you're a great speaker, but you should be extremely proud of yourself, and Dealer eProcess should be proud because there's a lot of companies that wish they could speak at NAD. And then, you know, the benefit of it massively enhances your booth experience. When you have a subject matter expert on a national and technically international stage like NADA, it always accelerates the booth traffic. So congratulations to you and eProcess.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so let's get into it. You know, I was kind of thinking about stuff. I'm actually want to start off of websites first, and then we're going to spend the most time in this conversation on websites. Talk to me about this Amazon advertising, because I keep hearing about it, and you know, we heard that this whole thing with Hyundai. Tell us about like Amazon advertising, and is Dealer eProcess involved in that in any way, and if so, how and why?
Yeah, so we've been involved with that since they came to market for Tier 3 Automotive. This was back in May-ish of 2020, which was a terrible time to launch a new marketing channel in automotive, but we made our way through it. They came to us and just a handful of other people saying, we want to bring our data to dealers to use in audience creation and advertising. And I think that's what we need to focus on here. When you hear Amazon advertising, it's strictly speaking about the data. The way the ads are displayed to the consumer are either via streaming channels like Hulu or now Amazon Prime, because they're launching ad-supported Amazon Prime, Sling, where I watch football, all the other major streaming channels. Like, you can get access to people across a variety of different channels, but the Amazon piece is all about their data. And I've been doing this for over 10 years. I started here at DEP as a paid search strategist. So I've been in the automotive marketing world for a very long time. I have yet to see a data source that's as strong as what Amazon offers us. And that makes sense because Amazon's got the most first-party data on every consumer that could ever walk in your store, more than anybody else. And so what's great about Amazon is they can track you by a whole bunch of different valuable metrics that allows us to put you into buckets that we can then target off of. So they know where you live, because nobody lies to Amazon about where they want their stuff shipped. They know they know what you're driving, because if you buy parts from Amazon, which they are the world's largest parts seller at $15 billion a year, if you buy a part from Amazon, you got to tell them the year, make, model, trim that you own. So now they've got your home, they've got what's sitting in your garage. And then you just mentioned all of this new activity with Hyundai. They've actually had OEM showrooms on Amazon.com for years now, where people have been going to the tune of millions a month to browse at new models, build out their car. Now with Hyundai, they're going to actually be able to buy a car online, supposedly. We'll see how it works, because you and I both know a car sale isn't something that you just click a button and you're done. And then lastly, the biggest piece of data that they have is what's called life event data. And this is something that dealers have been asking me about for years. It would come up now and then. They'd say to me, hey, I know that if someone's about to have a child, more often than not, that means they're going to buy a new car in the near future. And dealers would ask me, do you know, or do you have a way of figuring out if somebody is close to having a child? And historically, I would say no, there'd be really no way to know that. But with Amazon, it's a completely different story, because if somebody is about to have a child, they're going to create a baby registry on Amazon, or they're going to start buying diapers like crazy. Something's going to happen that's going to tell us that, oh, this is clearly somebody who's about to have a child. And oh, by the way, I can see in their garage they own a 2018 Civic. That car ain't going to cut it anymore. Let's hit them with something like an SUV or something larger that they're going to need for that kid and all that stuff. So their data is just extraordinary. And when we put it all together, it's a huge boost for dealers. And the last point I'll make about Amazon is actually a point about Google. So Google Trends, if you look at either within Google itself or just googletrends.com, you can see how much search is happening on certain terms that you would want to target, like Honda Civic for sale, Ford F-150 for sale, things like that. People are shocked when I show them this, but a lot of times in large markets even, you see people searching for terms like Honda Civic for sale. Like, I was just looking at that term out in the Boston area for a dealer. The average number of monthly searches for the term Honda Civic for sale is under 100. So if you're talking about how do I sell more Civics, and in the entire Boston DMA, there's only 100 people a month looking for Civics for sale, you can't just sit back and be reactive and just hope your Google ads show to one of those 100 people. You got to be more proactive and get out there. And that's what Amazon lets us do. And what we've seen is that if you're running Amazon at the same time as Google, Google campaigns actually improve because Amazon's filling that pond with fish. So it's a way to be more proactive and force people into the market more aggressively.
Okay, so go back to that just again, because Amazon is really new for, for dealers and automotive professionals. So simplify this. Obviously, we understand what you just said, that People are using Amazon to order stuff, goes to their house, parts. We get it. So what's the program look like? Is it something that dealer eProcess is managing for the dealership, or like, and if so, how does the dealership purchase it, and what do they exactly get, and give a projection of what the results might be? Let's
Yeah.
picture for me.
Yeah, sure. So the way it works is we do 100% manage all of it. We have a team of Amazon strategists that their sole job is the management of these campaigns. We didn't mix it in with our other digital marketing folks who are managing campaigns like Google and Facebook because it is very different, and you couldn't be an expert in all three. So you will get we have a team of these managers. What'll happen is when we decide to take a look and say, yeah, I think I want to go ahead and do this, we'll go into the Amazon DSP, and Amazon tells us within your marketplace, once we create your filters, certain models you want to target, so this, that, and the other, they'll tell us specifically, okay, there are 37,510 people who are likely candidates for your business that we can target. That's going to cost you $15,000 a month, which you will get, 3.5 million impressions, whatever the numbers end up being. And we can vary that based on fitting in the dealer's budget. This is all in program as well for all the programs that we're into. So it's all co-op eligible. And so from there, you'd get your assigned strategist, we'd pick your plan, and it would run through, again, all of the variety of different channels that we can run through: Hulu, Sling, Amazon Prime, online video, things like that. And what we do at the end, this is a little bit different, is once we look at the data every month, we actually have the ability to match vehicle sales to somebody who actually saw an ad on their TV. And this is done through a variety of things like an Amazon Pixel and using their system called the Amazon Marketing Cloud that can tell me Sean saw an ad on Hulu, came to the dealership and bought a car because I can see him in the DMS. And we can make that connection. We're not going to say, though, that that's like 100% attribution. It was all the video that did it. But we do want to measure that influence. So we have a really good sense and understanding of what dealers are getting from this from a dollars and cents standpoint.
Okay. Okay. The question is, what's the difference of this Amazon advertising versus the OTT strategy? Isn't it the same thing?
So it's similar. Amazon is an OTT play. It's also a couple of other avenues like display and online video. Other OTT providers, though, like a Trade Desk or something like that, the only difference is they don't have the Amazon data. And the Amazon data is what makes this so powerful.
And honestly, when me and my family are huge football nuts, the Eagles,
Yeah.
right? So the whole Amazon, data that powers the NFL. I mean, the technology these people have is just ridiculous. So they figure out a way to be able to repurpose that to be able to provide strategic field intelligence for dealers to be able to match the audience. Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, a dealer would come to Dealer eProcess and say, is it franchise restricted? Because I know that Amazon was talking about the relationship with Hyundai. Is it just for Hyundai dealerships, or is it for any franchise right now?
No, this is for any dealership. The Hyundai relationship is Amazon's first step into the online car sales world, and they did that through their own partnership at Hyundai. But that's at the tier 1 level. We can do any dealer at tier 3.
Okay, so let's say, for example, I have a Toyota dealership in New Jersey. Just an example. If I have a Toyota dealership in New Jersey, they sell about 265 units a month. They want to go to 350, and they're building this internet initiative, and they're not doing this Amazon advertisement. I come to you, just pretend I'm the GM, and I'm like, okay, Gino, I just heard on the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast this Amazon advertising. All right, I'm intrigued. Yeah. I'm impressed with Amazon. I'm pissed I didn't buy Amazon stocks. I'm not gonna miss this right here. Yeah. Okay, what do we do? So talk to me to set expectations at the Toyota dealership in New Jersey. How do we get started? What do we do?
So you reach out to us, and one way you guys can get in touch with me is you scan this QR code here. You'll get all my info. But you reach out to us when we have a talk. We're not going to put a blanket strategy in front of anybody because it doesn't make sense. Everyone's unique. So we figure out what's your unique situation. What does your marketplace look like? How much inventory is in stock? What do we have to move? All of these things. Then we come up with a plan. That's when we go into the Amazon DSP, where it'll find for us all those people we can target. And then we build a budget around that. And then we also have the ability to do the creative as well. So if the dealer doesn't have an agency or a way to create the videos, we can create all the video content for you that we can then put into place, let it run, and then we let the data tell us what to do from there.
Now, the videos that you create, are they, because there's stitched videos, which are just that are just graphics that are stitched for motion, or there's full motion, videos. What kind of video assets do you guys create?
Yeah, these are full motion videos. They are templated to a degree, but they're also pretty customizable. We've got the ability to do all your custom messaging in there, custom offers, custom script with your own voiceover. It's actually kind of cool. We're toying around with AI right now to see if we can do like Darth Vader as the voiceover or something crazy like that. So that's going to be cool. And all of this video content is already OEM approved.
That's what
And
my next question was. Is this
yeah,
OEM compliant video footage?
it's all OEM compliant video footage. And if you buy a video from us, that template comes out of circulation for anybody else in your market for the next 2 years. So nobody else could run the same video.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, now I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I know that it's different with dealer process. That's why I have you on the show. But here's what my pushback is as a high-level consultant, all right, is that when you have advertisements like social ads, Google ads, or this Amazon ads, it's predicated, part of the success, true or false, is predicated on the value of your website. Because if I'm understanding, these companies are driving traffic, VDPs, SRPs, whatever, they're driving traffic to the website. But if you've got a website that is shitty, you know what I mean, that has low time on site, high bounce rates, it's plagiarized content and, no real value on the site. It's a cookie cutter templated site, AKA one of these OEM sites. You're not going to really maximize your value on this program. And that's not necessarily the fault of Amazon, Google, or social media. That's because the website didn't convert the proper way. Can you talk about that? Because I think a lot of dealers out there, Gino, I'm speaking facts right here. A lot of dealers spend a shit ton of money to drive traffic to their website, especially their OEM compliant websites, and then they don't have the results that they want, need, or should be getting. And it's not the advertising fault. It's the poor structured website. Am I correct or am I incorrect with that statement?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
One of the absolute most cost-effective leads is third-party leads. AutoWeb has got the best third-party leads. As a matter of fact, AutoWeb, formerly known as AutoBytel, invented automotive internet sales in 1995. So for the last 29 years, over 115 million cars have been sold through AutoWeb's lead source providing resources. So dealers, if you want the most cost-effective traffic, leads there are as inexpensive as like $15, $16 per lead. I would look into autoweb.com. As a matter of fact, AutoWeb for the 19th year in a row is going to be a featured sponsor and speaker at the upcoming Internet Sales 20 Group 15 in beautiful Baltimore. Okay, so check AutoWeb out. They got the best quality leads in the industry.
No, you're spot on. And really what's interesting is you kind of alluded to this. Dealers will spend 15, 20, 30 grand a month on advertising, yet they'll spend $9.99 a month on a website. Right. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't really, you can't really, make that one fit in square peg round hole, whatever. But I say this a lot. And in fact, I hosted a webinar yesterday for NADA to a few hundred dealers. And I said this, I think 4 or 5 times on the webinar, because it's so important to understand websites and marketing have always been spoken about in 2 separate sentences. Like a dealer will talk about their website with their website provider, put that person aside, and then go talk about their marketing. You can't have marketing without a website, and vice versa. You can't think of them as 2 different pieces of the puzzle. They're the same piece, and they have the same goals. They're both designed to get you leads, get you ROI, get you car sales, get people in the door. And if one is not speaking to the other, then you run into that situation you just mentioned, to where I might have a really great ad from Amazon that is completely personalized to a person because I know what they're shopping for, what they own, how often they buy parts, if they're having a baby, things like that. And then that ad drives them to a website that knows none of that. And then they just land on a homepage with a completely irrelevant banner or something like that. And it's lost, right? So you're spot on, Sean. You have to make sure the website is set up to convert and set up to actually integrate with the marketing so that that message stays consistent across all of the channels.
Yeah, let me talk to the dealers, managers, marketing people out there. Would you ever spend $100 on steak sauce and $5 on the steak? Right? I mean, that's the analogy right there. That's what you guys are doing. When you spend all this money to drive traffic to a shitty website, you are spending $100 on some, Pathmark, AMP, or Acme, steak sauce. and $5 on your, steak. It just doesn't make any sense. But that's what our industry is that, we make silly decisions. So let's kind of pack that in right now and talk about the reality of these OEM compliant websites. Okay, so I get it. I've actually talked to Ford Direct about this, Mr. Trent Cannon from Ford Direct. And I asked them a question. I said, why does the manufacturer, specifically like Ford, why do you guys mandate, certain website providers? Now, they said, and they didn't say this in a nefarious way, there's no perfect strategy, but their mind is, you know what, if we could create in our vision, theoretically, what a website should do, be like, look like, then we have thousands of Ford dealerships, 3,000, whatever, plus Ford dealerships that are out there. So at least now we have continuity, we've got symmetry, we've got a scalable brand, etc. But the challenge is, and this is coming from me, not Trent now, is that theoretically that sounds good. You know what I mean? That you want to come up from the OEM side, a compliance strategy for 3,000 stores, let's go. But the reality is that from my opinion, that it's difficult, close to impossible, to have a product that's going to serve not just 3,000, but 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 dealerships and be as good as a boutique specialty. So can you explain, you're the website professional, what's the difference between a website provider that mass produces templated website for OEMs versus a boutique website provider like Dealer eProcess? What's the difference of those two types of website companies in philosophy, in technology, and in results?
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there, but I think that number one, where I'd start is folks like Trent and Ford Direct and those other kind of program managers. They are in a tough spot, and I kind of feel for them because they're getting stuff tossed down from them to them from the OEM while stuff's coming up from the dealers, and they're squished in the middle, right? Like, how do we make everybody happy? So they have a tough job, and a lot of times it does boil down to, well, let's come up with a few providers, let's decide on some templates, and let's make sure that everyone is at least in this same aesthetic and whatever, so the brand is protected and things like that, and dealers themselves can't go too haywire, which sometimes they like to do. So they have that issue to solve, and it's not easy. The other thing is, going back to your question about being more boutique versus one of these conglomerates, and I don't mind mentioning by names, at least in this case, dealer.com. Dealer.com was at its start one of the top website providers out there. They were king of the hill in terms of technology innovation, but this was 20 years ago at this point. And what ends up happening is they got really, really big. Then they got into all of these programs to where now you have this idea of being templated and whatnot. And now they're in a sticky situation because they have to balance between how much can we afford to spend on innovation and kind of coming up with new ideas when we're getting already different things told us by the OEM versus managing 5, 6, 7,000 dealers. So that's when you end up in a more templated situation versus us, who, while we are in a lot of the OEM programs, out of all of the providers out there, we are the last ones that are still privately owned and operated. Our owner, Joe, who you know well, is the guy calling the shots here. We don't have shareholders. We don't have a board of directors, nothing like that, which means that when a dealer comes to us and says, hey, I know I've got certain OEM restriction I have to stand by, but what about this, that, and the other? We can just work directly with them and say, let's figure out how to customize this for you, because that's our MO. You're the dealer, you're our customer. And so I think that's the biggest difference, is that while we are still a large company, we do have that boutique-y kind of feel to us because we have the ability and the flexibility and really no limitation in terms of how much we can build our platform to suit the dealer's needs while also still making sure they're compliant with the OEM. So that was kind of a long answer, but there's, like I said, a lot going on in that question.
No, 100%. Okay. So now what I tell people, and I want to hear it from you, is that when dealers come to me at Dealer Synergy and they want to sell more cars, first thing I do is one of the things I do, not first, but one of the things we do is do a marketing assessment. We look at their website, we look at their lead source providers. I do a cost benefit analysis, and a couple things that I do, and tell me if I'm on track with this. And I want to give this tip as many times as I could do. I ask a dealer, okay, tell me, how much is your website? And usually what they do is they'll tell me that it's X amount of dollars, and it sounds high. It's more than 900. It's like, whether it's like 2,000, 3,000, or whatever it is. I'm like, wait a minute. what is just the website cost? What is the SEO cost? What is the PPC cost? What is the PPC management fee cost? And the reason why I want to do that is I want to try to benchmark and see what the ROI is. Here's what I'm thinking before you interject. I know it's a lot to unpack too, right? But
Yeah.
if you are spending $4,000 on a website, but it's got SEO, SEM, and management built into it, but you don't know what the individual costs are and what the individual products yield, then you can't really know what's really working. So for example, if it only costs me $9.99 for my core website and I get 100 leads, but now I'm spending an extra $3,000 a month for all this other shit, but now I only go to 110 leads, is it really worth the other X amount of dollars for that? Most dealers don't know how to do that. Then I say, okay, step two is, once we identify what those individual costs are and what the leads yield, add up every dollar you spend to drive traffic to your site, all the APIs. That could be digital retailing, they could be credit apps, they could be acquisition tools, it could be a chat tool, it could be whatever. I said add all that in, and then add all the dollars that you're spending, whether it's social ads, it's Amazon, or whatever it is, and it's very simple. You add all those numbers together, and then whatever that macro number is, write that down. Do one thing, run a report. How many sales leads did you generate off of your website? Not OEM, not third-party provider, not online classifieds, just from there. And what I'm finding, and I can tell you, I was with Greg Goebel at a special finance NCM 20 group not too long ago. And again, it's insane. Dealers are spending, some dealers, $300 to $400 per lead, not per sale, per lead. And when I explain it to them this way, they almost fall the fuck out. They fall out like shocked, like, wait a minute, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, but it makes common sense to me. If you're spending money on your website and a ton of money to drive traffic to your website, and if you were only generating X amount of leads, now I get it. I get it. There is something about marketing and branding, but at the end of the day, what I need first and what dealers need first is tangible leads that they can engage and try to sell a car to. So my question to you is, do you see my logic on that? And what is your opinion on that thought process?
Yeah, I think that's the way to go, because you're hitting a lot of the important points. And the way I always like to think about it when I'm talking to dealers is, let's think about what would happen in your showroom. How would you react? So you have 10 salespeople on your showroom floor, right? You could have 10, quote, salespeople online. Number one is your website, chat, trade-in, SEO, digital retailing, whatever, right? If you notice in your dealership that one guy is selling 80% of the cars, and then the next 5 guys are all selling, 2 to 3% a piece, what would you do with those other guys? They'd be gone. You'd fire them. There'd be no point to keep them around. And that's how you should be looking at these tools. If you have a trade-in tool on your site that is, like you said, adding an incremental increase in leads of 4%, 5%, are you really getting any value out of that? And the answer is probably no, especially if you can't track it properly either, because a lot of times these are all different companies that exist on the dealer site. You could have one company for your site, another for the trade, another for this and that. And now you have a bigger problem because you can't see if your paid search ads are actually driving trade-in leads, or if your chat leads are turning into sales, or what's going on. And so you have such limited visibility into what's happening, where if you don't go through that exercise that you just mentioned, you're never going to really know what's causing most people to convert and buy cars digitally. And then you're just going to have this big bill, and you're going to say, well, I think I need everything, so we better just keep it and keep rolling, and probably just change the marketing, because that's got to be the problem, which oftentimes, like we talked about, it's the website, not necessarily the marketing. So I think that's a great exercise to go through.
What can you give us some benchmarks or some goal points? Meaning, if I'm spending $10,000 a month in ads, you could pick one, whether it's Amazon or it's pay-per-click or it's Facebook or whatever it is, it should be generating X amount of site links and traffic to the website. What is a good conversion from traffic to a site to lead generation, and what is stupendous? So what I want to know is, if I'm not a ninja in digital marketing, if I'm just a freaking sales manager, GM, GSM, or a dealer principal, and I want to know what is good versus what is great, do you have an idea like what the percentage of traffic versus conversion to a lead, whether that's a phone up or that's an email or a form? What should a dealer should be striving for?
Yeah, that's another loaded question because there are so many variables that impact that. Like if you have low inventory and you're driving a lot of people to that inventory, your conversion is inherently going to be lower, right? So you're not going to have that level of, there's not going to be that much to entice someone to convert because you might only have 5 cars in stock and, you know, none of them are their color, right? So that's not the fault of anybody, but just not having the right cars in stock. I would say that you have to look at this at a campaign by campaign basis if our metric is going to be conversion. And I think it should be conversion. And actually what we do is we take it a step further and we look at sales and then we kind of back into conversions and campaigns and things like that. Certain campaigns, like your search campaigns, like your lower funnel, like Toyota dealer near me type of campaign, that should be converting at, you know, honestly, 5% would be average, which is a good conversion rate. I know it sounds low, but that's actually a strong conversion rate when you look at everything as a whole. If you're going to look at conversion though on something like a display campaign or something like that, it's going to be a very low number and it's not a good way to measure it. So display, different story. How much engagement are we getting? How much exposure are we getting? What is our CPM versus CPC, things like that. And then the Amazon piece, what's interesting about that is that we look at it from a lot of it from a site visit standpoint, as well as a Google Analytics standpoint, because we know that there's a residual effect to those types of campaigns to where you might be watching the Eagles game, which was a tough loss a couple of weeks ago, but you know, at least you had a playoff game to watch. As a Bears fan, I don't know if I'll ever have another playoff game to watch. So I would say take that as a win. But you know, there's going to be a residual impact because if you're watching the Phillies or the Eagles game, you see the ad, like, oh, that's interesting to me. I do have to check out that car more, but I'm not going to do it right now because I'm watching the game. But maybe a few days later, you go to the site, we can measure that impact via, you know, Google Analytics and things like that. So are we raising your organic or your direct, or what's your voice in the marketplace doing? All of these metrics are not conversions, but they're lead-ins to conversions, right? So the analysis has to be a lot deeper than just saying, hey, this isn't getting me leads, let's cut it out, because it depends on what it's designed to do. So it's a hard question to answer, you know?
No, fair enough. So let's transition. It is now 2024. And as we spoke about, there's been websites for 25, 30 years. Again, starting from, I remember dealers having websites built on Front Page 2000. Then it went to, you know, Dreamweaver. Then there was the whole Flash, you know, craze. And then that didn't work out so well. And things have changed and changed. So you guys are the leading web development company in the entire automotive industry. What is your opinion? And if you could show us something, what should a dealership website look like, or feature wise have or be able to do based on what prospects and customers wants, wishes, needs, and expectations are?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey, LA, do you know that dealers are still suffering from inventory, from lack of inventory? I mean, again, the manufacturers are still not where they used to be with their new car inventory, which is putting a heavy strain on used car inventory. And so I'm telling you, dealers need to look at VinQ. VinQ by far is the absolute best software and technology provider when it comes to acquisition, trade-in, used car inventory, used car pricing. We call it the V-Auto killer. So folks, if you are looking to have the absolute best inventory software specifically for acquisition purposes, for pricing purposes, for so much more, just check out VinQ. As a matter of fact, VinQ is going to be a featured speaker and their sponsor for the upcoming Internet Sales 20 Group 15 in beautiful Baltimore, April 15th to the 17th.
I like to start this conversation around a quote that Jeff Bezos said, and he said it about a little over 25 years ago at this point. So right as websites are starting to, you know, pick up steam, he said that if we as an Amazon have 4.5 million customers, we shouldn't have one store. We should have 4.5 million stores. And that makes so much sense because if you think about today's shopper, everybody's different. Everyone has different needs, different wants, you know, different things that they're looking for. Now, if you consider that your website, which oftentimes has been called your online showroom, I disagree with that. Your website is actually your online salesperson. It is your most prolific salesperson because it interacts with customers before they ever get in your showroom more than anybody else. So if you think about what I just said about customers all having different wants and needs, and you think about a salesperson, and Sean, you know this better than anybody because you train salespeople all day, the first thing you tell salespeople to do is listen to and find out what the customer's needs are, and then react to that. Build a solution around their needs. If somebody's in your store not doing that, you'd fire them. But the problem is your website doesn't respond to customers' needs. So if it is indeed a salesperson, that's what it needs to be taught to do. And if you look at Amazon, again, going back, like your Amazon page is way different than my Amazon page, because my Amazon page has a bunch of shit that I want to buy, and yours has a bunch of stuff that you want to buy, right? So that's what they did to become a $750 billion company, was really understand and harness this idea of website personalization to drive greater engagement and overall revenue. So if we look at the website, and I can pull this up and show you something right here real quick. If we think about the website, which I'm just on one of our Kia demo sites right now, like I said, the website needs to be able to listen to and respond to a consumer. And this, when we go back to the beginning, I was talking about all the new features we're launching at NADA. They're all built around this idea of making the site evolve as the individual customer shows you what they're interested in. So, for example, I'll just go to this site right here. One of the pieces that we see get used a lot on our websites is a search by vehicle feature tool right here. This actually, it makes a ton of sense. And when we built it, we're like, no doubt, we should have done this a while ago. But like, I think about my mom who just bought a car. She was calling me up. She knows I'm in the business. And she said, I don't really know what I want necessarily, but I do know I want a sunroof. I do know I want a heated steering wheel because it's getting cold out here. That would be nice to have a heated seat along with it. So she had certain things she wanted on the car.
Oh, wow. This is cool as hell, bro.
Yeah. So it gets better. So this is day one, right? This is the first visit to the site.
Right.
To come in here, I'm going to go now to a search results page that shows me all the vehicles that are in stock that have those features that I need. And now we're here on a search results page. Now you'll notice this page isn't overwhelming people with CTAs, which drives me nuts when I land on a page with 8, 9, 10 calls to action. You don't need that many. In fact, you hurt your conversion because you're causing people to spend way too much time trying to figure out what they're supposed to do. But if you just make it easy, price, payment, trade, that sort of stuff, you'll have good conversion. But now I'm here and I can look at this vehicle set. So I'm going to go through and pretend I'm still my mom looking at cars. And she knows she needed something a little bit bigger. So she's actually going to come down to seating capacity here on the left and say, I need something that at least seats 6. Here's the first piece of personalization. You'll notice that originally I had to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the filters to sort by seating capacity. From now on, every time this person comes back to the site, seating capacity is going to be their first filter option, because we know at this moment, this is what's most important to them outside of these features that they search for. So now the site's saying, all right, I know you like to sort by seating capacity and you want vehicles with these features. I'm going to give that to you every time you come back to the site. So we've got now just 2 vehicles, unfortunately, that are in stock. I can look at this kind of gray one or this white one. Let's say I like the white one. I'm going to jump in here, look at the VDP. Again, keep it simple. You'll notice this VDP, it's not overly cluttered. There's not a lot going on. You've got offers, you've got testimonials. That's about as much as you need in terms of extra information. But now I can go in here and say, yeah, I like this car. I'm not necessarily ready to take an action though. So I'm just going to maybe click this heart and see what happens. And then from there, we're done. So let's pretend now I'm back on the homepage. Let's pretend everything I just did was 2 days ago and I come back to the site today. You'll notice a couple of things. Number one, if I scroll back down here, we're saving those features for them. The biggest thing that you can do that hurts your conversion is force people to take actions they've already taken in previous visits, because people are all, very time conscious. And if you keep asking them to do things over and over again that they've already done, it ticks them off. So now if I wanted to just get back to this set of 18, I've got this saved for me, or I've got now this pick up where you left off button, which you will all see on Amazon. If you go back to your Amazon page, it has a section that says pick up where you left off. So you can get right back to shopping what you were shopping for. And if I click that, it's going to take me right back to the VDP that I was looking at 2 days ago. So now I'm already deep linked into this vehicle here. So let me jump back though, and let me start over a little bit and show you some more of this personalization that we've got going on. So now that I'll jump back to this SRP, again, seating capacity is already safe for me. I can bring that back. I've also got recent searches. So if I had to click that open, I could have just gotten there with one click. And you'll notice this page here is a little bit different. So we asked ourselves a couple of years ago, we said, if a consumer has actually engaged with a vehicle on a search results page, and the view that they saw in that vehicle, in our mind, then did its job, it got the engagement, does it make sense to keep showing the consumer the exact same view of that vehicle when they get back to the SRP? Or should we show them a different view so that A, that vehicle stands out, it gives them a little bit more urgency, and it promotes more low funnel conversions? So that's what we're doing here. And that's been shown to actually improve conversions a lot, because I'm reminding this customer, hey, you've looked at this car. It's probably the next step is to get your trade evaluated if you are really interested in it, which you should take action because we got other people looking at this vehicle. I could also see this vehicle too in the My Garage section, which is another personalization feature, because when I saved that car, I hit the little heart on the BDP 2 days ago. It's now populated here for me. So I have that all cached. I'm ready to go. And so the site, as you can see, it's evolving, it's changing. And then the last piece I just want to highlight is this feature right here. I can completely save this search. So if I wanted to, again, just leave the site, come back, maybe I don't even go through that features widget anymore on the next visit. Maybe I just go straight to new inventory where I'm seeing all of this stuff. It's all still saved for me. So this is the heart of what our development is all focused on now. It's building around this, and we've got way more tools coming out that have this level of personalization built in. Now, here's another thing, Sean, that I think you'll find interesting. Everything in here, it does not live in a vacuum. If you're part of a dealer group and that group has dealer eProcess websites, everything I've done here on the group's Kia site will follow me if I go to the group's Honda site. So the Honda site, when I land there, will know that on Kia, I was looking for cars with heated seats, heated steering wheels, sunroofs, 6 seating capacity. I need this filter up here. My experience on the Kia site will influence my experience on the Honda site, which to me means this is really the first website platform built for a dealer group, which is crazy because dealer groups have, they're getting bigger, they're getting, more prolific. And so we have to try to keep people within their environment as much as possible. And this is one way to really do that.
Well, question on that point then, does the technology exist that, let's just say that I'm at the Kia dealership and you, Gino, are working at the Ford dealership? Again, if I get a lead from the Kia store, right, based on this prospect looking at a Telluride, is there any field intelligence that'll come to me that'll let me know that they're shopping at my Ford site as well? Because again, it would be good to know if I'm competing with my own person, or it'll help me to be able to understand this person's also looking at that vehicle, or is that not part of the download?
No, you are right. You're right on track, Sean. That is exactly what happens. So I'll show you one of our leads in the back end of our site real quick and show you what we already have. Part of this new cross-site data sharing piece is exactly what you just said. So in our website platform today, and we've been doing this for years, we track a customer's click path. So we know every site, every page that they visit on the site. That's actually a lot of what powers what we just saw with the personalization, is that tracking.
So this is really intriguing. This type of technology, there's no other web development company in the automotive industry that's doing this right now. Is that correct?
No, nobody's close. Everyone's been still focusing on the same old stuff. Like, we're going to redesign our VDPs, our SRPs, things like that. But this piece right here goes to exactly what you were talking about. And I'll zoom in a little bit. So on this dealer's site, we know that this customer on the 23rd landed on the homepage, looked at all-wheel drive Fords, didn't really do much after that, came back later in the day, looked at this Ford Escape, it seems to be what they're looking at. They did a payment calculation, things like that. If this was if the lead came in to this Ford site, but the customer was previously on the Kia site, like you just said, their Kia site visit would be included in this breakdown. So you would see everything they did on Kia, as well as everything they've done on Ford. And what's nice is this piece here gets sent into the CRM. So in the comments section of the CRM, there'll be a link where you can open this up. So you don't have to work out of 2 dashboards. But as a BDC rep or salesperson, you can see their entire journey from within the group. So that's again, the idea of bringing a solution to groups that they hadn't had before is one thing we're trying to do here.
This is strong as hell, my friend. All right. because we're winding down on here. We still got about 10 minutes or so, but I want to respect your time. Are there any other features you're able to show us that, that you're going to unleash at NADA, or is that all you can unveil right now?
That's all I can unveil right now. I think at NADA, I do want to leave a little bit of mystery for folks who are going to the show. So we do also have we have a brand new identity resolution technology that we're bringing to the industry. This is a system that can take data points from a lot of different data providers that we put together to build this platform. And the way I think of it is that this is like putting racing fuel in your marketing, because what it can do is we can put a radius around your dealership. We can put in certain criteria of like models that we want to target. And then from there, it will find for us people who have been actively searching for those models, either by going to OEM websites, third-party websites, other dealer websites, things like that. And with our system, we can then de-anonymize those people. So without those customers ever having engaged with you before, we can get their name, we can get their email, and from there, we can put them into a marketing program that will hit them on Amazon, Google, Facebook, email, all around the vehicle that we know they're shopping for today on behalf of the dealer. So it's going to be huge. Like I said, it's that racing fuel into this engine that allows you to get in front of these people who we know are shopping, but they haven't engaged with you yet. So you get to be the first one in front of them.
All right, I got a couple big questions for you. Okay, the first one is going to be probably like rapid. I just want you to spit like these answers out. All right, so we're going to like, all right, so best practices for website design. So if I'm an internet director, BDC director, marketing manager, or whoever's in charge of my marketing or my website at the dealership, I remember back in the day, the number one place that people would visit was the inventory. The number two place people would visit is the specials. Can you tell us, from your data and your thousands and thousands of dealer clients that are out there, what is in 2024 the top places that people visit or spend time on a website? Let's go there.
Yeah, so it's the SRP right now for us, for sure. And that's kind of been the case for our SRP in a while.
I know what that is, but tell the audience, what's an SRP?
The search results page. So that page right after the homepage with all your inventory listed on it, that's where we see people tend to spend the most time. And the important thing is you have to kind of look at how the platform's designed. Like, our platform's designed to make people's lives easy. We don't want them to go into each and every VDP to do what they have to do. So we see most people come into our SRPs and spend a lot of time there. So that's number one. Number two, oftentimes it is those special pages. It hasn't been lately, though, since a lot of the OEM incentives haven't existed for a while, but now that's starting to come back. So traffic's starting to beef up to those pages. So that's still pretty much in line.
Okay, point, stop. That's a good learning nugget here at the consultant side. So folks, you just heard this. Before, the specials page was the number two most visited, page on the website, like across the board. But Gino brought up a great point, is that during the whole pandemic and post-pandemic reality, when there's low inventory, there weren't manufacturer incentives and dealers weren't discounting cars, they were at list or over, there really wasn't any need to put anything in there. But now that competition's happening, there's more allocation being put out there, the manufacturers have incentives. If you have not been formatting and being creative on your specials page, it might have not mattered. But now, Gino, if I'm hearing you, if dealers are smart, progressive, that listen to this podcast, they might be like, I might be able to maximize this section of my website. Okay, so we have the SRPs, we have specials. What other places are heavy concentrations for prospects and clients?
Service would probably be next. We know people are holding on to their cars a little longer than they used to, so service is going to become a more and more of a priority. So, there's tons that you can do with a service page, coupons, offers, things like that, build out menus, whatnot. But that is a pretty heavily visited page, particularly if it's part of your marketing plan, which it's baffling to me how many dealers don't consider service when they're talking about their online advertising. Normally it's just like, yeah, we're doing a mailer, we're fine. And it's like, probably not, because every mailer I get goes in the trash. So that's another area to focus on, is service.
All right. So I want to bring up something that's not controversial, but there's opinions on this either way. I used to be a special finance manager as well. So not only am I internet guy, I'm a subprime guy, and I love working with subprime. And what I find is a lot of websites just have an apply now or finance option, even special finance dealerships. So now and we talked about this before too, me and you privately. not on a website level, but I think on a user experience level, what I'm going to say is going to make sense. But on a CRM level, follow me on this. If you just have even if you're a special finance dealership and you're buying subprime leads, if someone goes to your website and there's just one option, or even if there's a couple, but it only leads to the same one destination, then think about the CRM experience. You cannot assume that everybody's got bad credit. So your verbiage, your templates for email, for text, your voice messages, all that stuff has got to either be that this is good credit or uninsured credit, versus if you had a button on your website that said point blank bad credit or no credit, you could map out a special unique experience in the CRM protocol. Whether that's the email templates, the text message, the this and the that. So I always advocate that if you do special finance, especially if you're buying subprime leads, that you should go to your web developer or your web company like yours, and then basically just ask to have two different sections: credit or financing versus bad credit, no credit. What are your thoughts on that? Just want your opinion.
I think that you do need it segmented. And in fact, the dealers we work with that do this really well, they've got internally almost separate businesses designed around this special finance as a bad credit. Those dealers have complete separate websites just for bad credit that we then send traffic to. And that's great to have these kind of marketing channels like we do, because Amazon can use TransUnion data to target people in certain credit tiers and drive them to that site. So it's completely off separate from the normal site. It still has the inventory. It still has everything you'd want to see. But everything coming through there, we know, is primarily bad credit. So that then feeds that portion of the dealership's process in the CRM and the follow-up and everything else. So it's accurate to those people in that situation.
And, speaking of this is the other frustration I have as a consultant, and I want to just bounce this off of you as the website expert, is that I'm still shocked in 2024. There's dealers that have profit centers that like, for example, acquisition, especially now with inventory not as plentiful as it was for new cars, at least. There's a lot of dealers that suffer and they want to do acquisition or buy from the public, but there's no clear place on the website. It's not a dealer eProcess site, but Danny Zalowski from Country Hill Motors and VinQ was really, really good. As an independent dealer, he got it. He made his website. It's buy, sell, refer. The sell, like sell us your car, almost like the CarMax mentality, is very prominent. If you want people to sell you their car, then I believe that you need to have somewhere prominent that type of message and that type of section on your website that makes it conducive for, acquisition, not just a little acquisition, API that's buried somewhere. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, it can't be buried, and you have to make things really simple for people. So what we do, and this works really well, our trade-in tool, we've actually got a reskinned version of it that is a sell us your car tool. It does the same thing, which you want it to do, which is give me your info, I'll give you a value for the car and see if you want to, do the deal. But we build pages around that tool and we land traffic specific to sell us your car to those pages. So it can't be, like you said, just a little like thing in the menu bar. It's like, oh, by the way, we'll buy your car. You have to be very loud about it, and having also the capability for that customer to find out what you're going to pay them for their car versus forcing them to call or come in the store, which people aren't going to do. That's the big key about it too. So you have to have much more of an emphasis on it than just it being a small part of the site.
Okay. And then my last question, and then we're going to close out, is, all right, the buzz all over the industry, and I'm sure NADA next week is going to be lit up with this, is AI, artificial intelligence, chat GPT, and all of that. How does AI affect or integrate with websites? So that's two-part question. Is Dealer eProcess utilizing any AI in the technology? And if so, what? And if not, is there a need for AI in dealer websites?
We're not doing anything right now. We are in the background, kind of behind the curtains, starting to toy with it. AI is still, it's very new. I know people are very excited about it, and ChatGPT can do a lot of cool things, but ChatGPT also lies, flat out lies, right? So the last thing we want is to put a ChatGPT powered chat application on our site and have it just make things up for people. So you have to be very cautious with that. I've caught it in a lie before. I said, tell me about the plot of this one episode of a show that aired 7 years ago. And it just made it up. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. Try again. And then made something else up. So you can't totally trust this thing yet. Where I see it, though, coming into play in the future and kind of the road we're going down is looking at the data in the back end. So like all the personalization that we just went through and all of the other first party data that's available to us to use to personalize the site, an AI system, if correctly trained, can internalize that and better understand the needs of that customer that we can then use to better power marketing and the website experience, things like that. So in the back end, and this is something that larger online commerce companies are focusing a lot on. In fact, I read a stat, 71% of all major online e-commerce marketing managers are investing in AI-driven personalization on their sites today. So that stuff always tends to trickle down to us eventually. We hope to still be the ones to lead it. But that's really where the power of AI is going to come in, is interpreting the data and then presenting customers with materials around what it's found out from that interpretation of the data.
That is a very, very, very good answer, because I think that sometimes, like we get excited in our industry of the next magic beans, and everybody rushes to it. And again, it's dealers change their mind more than Katy Perry changes her clothes. That's one of my favorite sayings. It's like they're on to the next one, but you're right. ChatGPT has definitely got some value, but there's a lot of things that need to be worked out about it. And when you're dealing at the level that we are with millions and millions of dollars at stake, you don't want to have ChatGPT lying or creating unneeded chaos in your store. Man, I'm really excited to have Dealer eProcess and you a part of the upcoming IS20G conference in April in Baltimore. So Gino, you're going to be our featured speaker. You're going to be having a roundtable. So can you share with us, are you going to be speaking about Amazon, or what is going to be your topic for IS20G in April?
So it's a little bit of a mixture of kind of similar stuff we talked about here today. I really want to hammer home best practices. And a lot of it's centered around the message you said earlier, Sean, because it's still such a problem in the industry, is how all of this money you're spending on marketing is going to a completely unoptimized website. And talking about how to recognize that and fix that problem. That's kind of the crux of the whole presentation that I'll be giving.
Well, listen, again, you are an incredible speaker. Obviously, NADA selected you to be a featured speaker at NADA. We're going to be honored to have you bless the stage. And Gino, can you believe this is our 20-year anniversary at Dealer Synergy coming up in April? Yeah, man. It's insane. 20 years I've been doing this, and we're honored to be able to have you and Dealer eProcess part of it. Any last words you have before we close out, brother?
No, I mean, this is great. I really, I hope everyone here saw some value. I hope to see everybody at NADA. And then obviously, if not, I'm sure everyone here is going to be at IS20, and that's going to be a blast. So I can't wait for that.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car